They had tinnitus for 10 years, and they worked with us, and they were able to significantly reduce it. So those stories are harder to find, like on the internet, or even to show up to a podcast. Like, someone's had tinnitus for over 5 years, and then they got significantly better. Those are the gems, because those show us like, oh, okay, then you've had it for 2.
I don't understand what a safe decibel zone is for us to be in. People with tinnitus.
So let's just be quiet and see where it goes. Yeah, so a quiet room is about 50 decibels, and how it's measuring it. And a loud room is like 70 or 75 decibels, so that's in the correct range. Totally healthy, totally normal. Once it gets to 85 decibels,
you said that.
Then we need to ask ourselves, how many hours a week am I spending here? If you're just going occasionally to like a restaurant, not a problem. If that's your job and you're working in a restaurant and it's 40 hours a week, it's like maybe that's where you might want to use some milder earplugs. And the cool thing about those earplugs is that they have filter strength. So they have like, I think it's like 9, 15, and 20. So you can look at your app and say, okay, I need to be at 85 or below. This concert is 100, therefore I need at least a 15 decibel earplug.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, I gotcha. I gotcha. No, because we were talking about like, can an audiologist, like, can you actually tell what my level of my
is?
Yes.
We can tell what your hearing loss is.
Right.
And there are certain tests where we can measure what's called sensation level of tinnitus. So that means, let's say we pitch match your tinnitus to 6,000 hertz, which is very common. And then I measure what's the softest sound you can hear at 6,000 hertz. And let's say it's 5 decibels, and then I measure how loud is how much noise at 6,000 hertz until you can't hear your tinnitus anymore, and that might be 8 decibels. So we can say sensation level, your tinnitus is 8 decibels.
Okay.
Meaning that you only need 8 decibels of sound therapy to completely mask it.
Got it.
We're not trying to completely mask it. There was a study, and I believe the number was around 5 or 6 decibels as the average sensation level for tinnitus. And as you're seeing through this app, that's not much at all.
Right.
So it shows us that, oh, okay, this is really only relevant in very quiet places for a lot of people. Not necessarily for folks who are here, who might have a more significant case. But yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, but so how virtually will they set up like our devices for the hearing aids?
Yep.
How virtually can you adjust those and know what our frequency and our tone is?
So oddly enough, for successful treatment, you don't need to pitch match and you don't need to get the sensation level. It's more just for demonstrating the real world effects of, it's more for just having this conversation of you being like, oh, I only need 5 decibels for it to not be there? Maybe it's not as intense as my brain's telling me.
Right.
Sometimes people think that if they're really getting into the protocol of tinnitus retraining therapy, I think a beginner mistake is, oh, I can't hear my tinnitus right now. I'm not getting the benefits of habituation.
That's what I would think.
But it's not. Because what are you doing right now? You're just living a normal life. Like, you don't have to be in a quiet, isolated room hearing sound therapy all the time. That's not what it is.
Gotcha.
It's just to say, when you are in a quieter place, that's when we want the sound therapy to be there in the background, so that you're never just hearing your 6 decibels tinnitus in a quiet room.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
And you suggest 12 hours a day, right?
Depends. If you're working in a restaurant, then you wouldn't need sound therapy when you're in the restaurant. If you're,
Do you need sound therapy when you're in a quiet place?
When you're in quiet places. Yeah. So it's mostly indoor, home office, my home, my apartment, that kind of thing.
So if you're watching TV, you're not using the device.
It depends what you're watching, I guess, but for most people, they don't have to.
They don't need it. Yeah.
When I was 21 and I first got tinnitus, it was pretty bad. But I think just naturally, I got used to it and it went down to almost to 0. And then a couple years ago, it got really bad again. And that's been a couple years. So now I'm like, the first time around, my ears got used to it, went to 0. That was natural. This time around, like, is this what I'll expect forever? Like, is there a maximum I can get used to it and I've reached that already?
Yeah, good question. So your brain's already habituated to tinnitus before, so therefore it can do it to some real degree again. Are we expecting the same result? Not necessarily, because it might have been a different circumstance. You might be under more stress now. You might have a hearing loss. You might have XYZ cause. So hopefully that helps you.
What about like the idea that if my brain could have got used to it by now in the past 2 years, then it would have done so already?
For that, I would respond and say, there are people, I just heard yesterday, a patient who worked with us who had tinnitus for 10 years. And they worked with us, like, not just, oh, I might hear tinnitus, but they had tinnitus for 10 years, and they worked with us and they were able to significantly reduce it. So those stories are harder to find, like on the internet or even to show up to a podcast, like someone's had tinnitus for over 5 years and then they got significantly better. Those are the gems, because those show us like, oh, okay, then you've had it for 2, so it's possible. Not guaranteed, but it's possible.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, I was like, you know, that other person who had it pretty bad for a year and then they didn't have it anymore. Like, that happened to me too, so I'm wondering, when I'm in this other camp, I've had it for a long time, can I get better as well?
Yeah, as I said, I can't guarantee it for anyone, but the short answer is it's happened to others, so if you're doing the right things, you have a good chance that you can get better. Yeah, for sure. If you'd like to speak with a tinnitus specialist from the comfort of home via a telehealth Zoom session, then please click the link above right here. We offer this to you guys where you can speak with a specialist and get your questions answered. I know a lot of you are desperate looking for help. Please consider scheduling the free consultation with my team at Treble Health, and we'll take care of you.
Do you have tinnitus?
I have mild tinnitus, and earlier in my life it was louder and more noticeable. Now it's very, very low. And when I was getting into tinnitus consultation and tinnitus appointments, I really enjoy, like, we can really help people in a way that a lot of doctors'
100%.
appointments might not. So it's like your story tonight is like, dang, if I can be involved, especially when other doctors are falling short, and this is something that people want and need.
There's a gap. There was a total need, and you're filling that need all over this country. Like, I'm one of thousands of people. Like, you know, listening to your stories was what gave me the confidence to say I can get better, and it really was a difference maker. And I want to, you know, give it back, you know. So I'm happy to be here and tell my story and make others feel the same way.
It's one of my favorite things about the tinnitus community is that, like, positive feedback loop of, like,
needed.
I saw a success story, like you demonstrated it. The moment for you was I saw people online sharing that they could get better,
exactly,
or that they got better rather.
And they were your clients. It was your clients. You had so many of them, and you're describing this
tinnitus retraining therapy,
all that, but also describing everything about the systems and how it works. We learned it. It's like, okay, there's a path forward here. Like, there's no one else doing that. Like, how many people are doing that? That's a professional. That's a doctor that you can trust. So you feel the need, and I commend you, and hopefully more and more people get to know who you are.
And I love how you got, like, I didn't get to go because I was working, but you even had, like, Julian Cohen-Cowell.
Cohen Hill.
Cohen Hill. That's your thing. Who's like, he was the first guy I read when I first got this tinnitus, and he gave me so much hope. And I'm like, wow, you're obviously, like, very plugged into this whole thing. And
totally.
It's just
Who's what's his name?
He's a craniosacral therapist in England, right, in the UK.
Correct.
He has a lot. Yeah, he's a lot of tinnitus videos as well. So it was Ben and Julian, and then when I saw them together, I'm like, all right, I'm in the right place.
Check out some of his content. It's really unique.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he understands tinnitus better than anyone.
Yeah.
He's lived it for many years, and then he helps people every day, like, as a therapist.
Yeah.
But really what he's bringing is, like, tactical practices where it's like things like your nervous system is out of balance, you know it, have 2 buckets of water, one is hot and one is cold. When you're having these panic attacks, sit down, put your feet in the hot water and then put your feet in the cold water. Get yourself as far away from your head as you can. Get yourself grounded in the body.
Take cold showers, all these different things. Tai Chi, like a lot of craniosacral. That's why I got turned on to craniosacral therapy. And it made a difference. I felt the difference in my system. I calmed down. I literally felt the volume.
Totally.
I'm like, oh my God, that's a real thing.
You found somebody near your house that does it.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So I would say his approach is more holistic.
And
People, I would say, like, normal society people, when they hear something that sounds holistic, they're like, I want the real thing. But with tinnitus, we realize, like, that might be the realest thing.
All the above. It's all the above.
Because
you don't know what's going to work for you. Like, what works for someone may not work for somebody else. So all these modalities are where it's at.
That's like that linear device, right? Like, it didn't work for me. There was probably hundreds of people that said it was the best thing they ever tried.
Julian's got like this scale of tinnitus, like level 9 is it's a tyrant, it controls every aspect of your life. Then 8 is like it's a boss you hate or something. And then like 4 is it's like annoying, but you're used to it. And then by level 1, it's like your teacher or something, and you like it's your friend. And just like the way he's transformed his tinnitus. Because sometimes I think that's like, if for me, like this tinnitus is a symptom of something deeper. Like, if I can fix my tinnitus, just like Julian, maybe like I can fix something deep inside of me, some sort of unhappiness, and that's the way it was for Julian. I think reading his book, and because I think there's like a reason why I have tinnitus. It's not just some random thing. Like it's here to teach me something. It's a painful teacher.
Something deeper.
I believe that all like disease is all about that. I view like that. It's a challenge. It's an experience. You're here to overcome it, and it makes you stronger. You know.
Yeah.
It's someone you don't want to deal with, but like anything else, it could be worse.
And my therapist always says, you pay too much attention. Like when she asks me how was your week, and I tell her like what I did and everything, she goes, you're giving it too much attention. You're giving it too much attention. It's the whole thing about habituation, right? You don't want to think
Distraction.
about it all the time. But I was, to your point, I was running in the beginning. Like when I said about running errands and doing things. That's running. You're running away from it. You're running into an area where it's going to be sound and it's going to be loud, and so you know you won't hear it. And then you get in the car and then you go to the next spot, right? Until you get home, and now you're like, oh, you know what? The kids are here. Why is everything quiet? So I'm going to put the TV on, right? And then you freeze because now you're kind of stuck at home. You have 2 kids you can't show, and I tell you, through it all, and it's been over a year, neither one of them know really the magnitude of anything that I went through. I was able to hide it.
I shut down. I didn't leave. I actually was like agoraphobia. I feel like I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to leave the house. I was like shut down, close the light. I slept. I tried to sleep. I didn't really sleep, but I was just so depressed.
It's good to catch up with you.
Same
guys.
here, Dr. Ben. It's great.
I'll take that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for everything. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys.